Welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. The topic of this episode is going to be why I believe Bryce Harper is the greatest Philadelphia Philly of all time. So, right after the NLDS, I just saw so much Bryce Harper hate. Now, me personally, I criticized him, right? In the sense of he did not perform, he did not provide what we needed to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. But the media outcry has been so overblown, it's ridiculous. Now, I get it. Philadelphia media, their main goal is for clicks, their main goal is for engagement. So I can understand why they would take a 4-game sample size and run with it. But what I like to do on this podcast, I like to be the voice of reason. Because say what you want about Philadelphia Phillies fans, they're passionate. They care so much about their ball club. That's why I'm here doing this podcast. That's why you guys are here engaging, listening. Being a Philadelphia Phillies fan is one of the best things in the world. But we can get a bit carried away, and I've done so myself. So on this episode, I'm going to try to just prove my point of why Bryce Harper is the best Philadelphia Philly. You guys can let me know how you guys feel, but this is just my opinion. So, Bryce Harper signing with the Philadelphia Phillies changed everything. Quite literally everything from this organization. Before he came here, we were in the midst of one of the worst era of Phillies baseball from 2012 to 2018. It was, we held on to our stars too long. Ruben Amaro Jr. sunk this franchise into the ground. I like Ruben. I watch him on the Phillies show on the broadcast. I think Ruben Amaro Jr. is a great guy. But the results speak for themselves in his time as the GM. So Bryce Harper, when he had his free agency, he's a Scott Boras client. Everyone and Scott Boras implored him, take an opt-out. Take an opt-out after year 3 to where you can get back on the market and get a bigger deal. Bryce Harper didn't want to do that. Bryce Harper's a family man. He wanted to lay his roots down in Philadelphia and build something. And boy, did he ever build something. So I'm going to lay out some players that probably wouldn't have come to the Phillies if Bryce Harper hadn't laid down the groundwork by signing with us in 2019. Zach Wheeler. I don't think he's here. I don't think he chooses us because I get it. You want to go for the most money in free agency, but there's also a part that plays into where the franchise is going. And 2019 wasn't a great season, but we were a 500 team. You could see the building stones, the grounding blocks for a potential rise into the playoffs. So Zach Wheeler coming here, I give Bryce Harper credit for that. Kyle Schwarber in 2022, because in 2020, I'm not really going to count that season, Zach Wheeler's first year, just because it was a 60-game sample size. But 2021, it was similar to 19. It was a 500 team. But again, you could see what the Philadelphia Phillies were building. And this all starts with Bryce Harper being the first domino to fall, the big star coming to Philadelphia. So Kyle Schwarber, I don't think he's here without Bryce Harper. Trey Turner. I know Trey Turner's not here without Bryce Harper. So you can say what you want about Trey Turner. I've had my opinions on if the contract was a success. Now, granted, we're going to have to see how it plays out because we still have a lot of years on it. But you can't deny Trey Turner is still one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball. I would like him to perform in the playoffs a little bit more due to his contract, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But Bryce Harper was laying down the groundwork for Trey Turner to come to the Philadelphia Phillies. He was on Sunday Night Baseball. They were asking him, who was your favorite player to watch in Major League Baseball? He no doubt said Trey Turner. His family is good friends with the Turner family. So another star coming to Philadelphia, thanks to Bryce Harper. And then re-signing JT. So not this re-signing because, again, I'm not upset that he's re-signed. I just thought the market wasn't what he got, so I think we overpaid. But the original re-signing of JT had to happen after the 2020 season because from 2021 to 2025, he was the best catcher in baseball, 21, 22, 23. 24, you can kind of make your argument. 25, he wasn't. But he was worth that contract that he got. Absolutely. And there's videos of him during the COVID season on the scrimmage screaming out, sign him to JT. Like, you want your star players to not only have an impact on the field, but have an impact in the organization. So again, re-signing JT, which he was instrumental to our 2021, well, I'll say 22 to 25 playoff run. We don't have JT. I still think we get into the playoffs, but I don't think we have the similar success that we had. Thank you, Bryce Harper. And then the 2021 NL MVP. Like that was, I still think 15 Harper was slightly better, but what he did during that year was unmeasurable. He was just, it was phenomenal to watch the kind of production he was putting out in that 2021 season. Obviously, we weren't ready to get in the playoffs yet. The pitching wasn't there. Some of the bats weren't there, but Bryce Harper hit the city on his back in 2021. And then he got hit in the face in May of that year and he came back and it didn't affect him. Like that is some bulldog mentality that Philadelphia desperately needed. And let's get into the playoff stats because as I mentioned before, yes, he had one bad series against the Dodgers. He was not good. A 4-game sample size. I've seen comments of like saying Bryce Harper hasn't produced the last 2 years. That is unequivocally wrong. He was the best hitter in the Mets series. You could say Castellanos. Now, if you say Castellanos, I'm not gonna argue with you too much because Castellanos did have a really big NLDS against the Mets, the big hit. He was a dog in that series, but Bryce Harper was hitting in front of him. So Bryce Harper was the protection in the sense. Like they didn't want to pitch to Bryce, they pitched to Casty. And Bryce Harper took his walks. And that's all you can ask for. If they're not pitching to you, dude, don't swing the bat. Bryce Harper kind of got out of that in 25, which I think led to a decrease in success against the Dodgers. But Bryce Harper, the only criticism I'll have from the 2024 season was that Game 3 at bat against Sean Manaea, runners on second and first. It was 3 pitches. It wasn't pretty. But again, I'm not judging that one at bat for the totality of Bryce Harper's playoff success. Because let's just go through it, dude. 2022, 1100 OPS, 1160. Everyone knows what he did in 2022. It was one of the best playoff performances of all time. 2023, 1097. So essentially a 1100 OPS. I get it. Game 6 and Game 7 were tough. He did not rise to the occasion. But you have to understand, he needs help. He can't, no one player can put the entire team on his back to win a World Series. This is baseball. This isn't basketball. If you remember in the 2008, well, you probably don't. I barely even remember it. But if you look back at the stats, Utley and Howard were struggling up until the World Series, but they had players like Pat Burrell. They had players like Jimmy Rollins, Jason Worth. The pitching helped out. The bullpen was phenomenal. It is a collective team effort. So if you want to tell me 2023 is diminished by 2 games, you're absolutely wrong. Sometimes you need your boys to back you up, and Bryce Harper has not had that in Philadelphia in his time. And then 2024, dude, he had his highest OPS when he was playing against the Mets, a 1279 OPS. And you guys are telling me in the comments that he has 2 bad postseasons back to back. That's just unequivocally wrong. And I get it. You guys want to be clickbaity, but you have to look at the numbers and tell the entire story. Bryce Harper's an absolute dog. And then let's get into some of the great Phillies, their playoff stats. And here's the thing. I never want to diminish the Stars and their production to the city of Philadelphia because they won us a championship, right? But it goes to the point, if you're talking about the individual player, Bryce Harper is better than all of them in the postseason. The difference is Utley, Howard, Rollins, Mike Schmidt, they had their teammates back them up to where when he was struggling for a game or two, it didn't completely change the trajectory of the series. Bryce Harper against the Diamondbacks in Game 7, he went cold. We know that. But if Trey Turner would have stepped up, Kyle Schwarber kind of stepped up. He had that big double in Game 7, so I'm not really saying Kyle Schwarber. But like other players, it has to be a team collective effort to win a World Series. Utley's postseason. So I'm going to go by year because I couldn't find the exact Phillies playoff stats because he had spent time with the Dodgers. But 2007, 490 OPS. Only 3-game sample size, but not good. 2008, 851. Pretty good, but still not at the level of Bryce Harper. 2009, Utley's unequivocally best postseason. That World Series performance he had against the Yankees was absolutely phenomenal. 1,072 OPS. So Bryce Harper had a better 2024 than Utley's 09, and that was Utley's peak. So, right. And then a 658 OPS in 2010. If Bryce Harper had a 658 OPS, he would get criticized, and he did against when he played against the Dodgers. Granted, that was a 4-game sample size. Utley in 2010, he played 3 games against the Reds and then 6 games against the Giants. A 9-game sample size compared to a 4-game sample size, almost double. But you don't see him getting criticized like Bryce Harper did this offseason. And then 2011, he had a 1259 OPS in the 5-game series against the Cardinals. So he's a dog. Like, they're all dogs, but it's like, if I'm comparing Bryce Harper to these players, I'm taking Bryce Harper every single day. Next guy, Ryan Howard. 845 career OPS in the playoffs. Bryce Harper wins him there. I'm not going to go to each individual season, but Ryan Howard is a Phillies legend. Bryce Harper's better than him. And then, because I think a lot of you guys agree that Harper is better than Utley and Howard, and if you don't, you're just wrong, right? But you can have your opinion. But I think the 2 Philadelphia Phillies, in my opinion, to where if you think this guy's better than Bryce Harper, I'm not gonna say your opinion's wrong. It's just kind of preference, right? And that's Michael Jack Schmidt. So Michael Jack Schmidt is the best third baseman in Philadelphia's Phillies history. He is Mr. Philly. I think Bryce Harper has taken that mantle from him. Mike Schmidt's career OPS in the playoffs, 690. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about with Bryce Harper? And that's pretty much where I'm going to end this video. I just think Bryce Harper needs to get more credit than he's been given this offseason from the president of baseball operations, saying he's not elite. Like, if you agree with that statement, it's a correct statement. You don't say that. You don't bash your player to where I think Bryce Harper's going to use his motivation because he's a professional, he's a dog, but I want Dave Dombrowski out of here. Like, what are you doing saying that? Look, he's on my wall. That moment that he sent us to the World Series, and you're going to disrespect him to the media? Like, all you could have said was, look, Bryce Harper's a great player. I fully expect him to return to MVP form. I know he has it in him. Instead, Dombrowski said, I don't know if he's ever going to get back there. Who are you, Dave Dombrowski? You know what I'm not too sure about? You ever getting back to the level of president of baseball operations you were with the Boston Red Sox. You were with the Detroit Tigers. So let's criticize you, Dave. And we've been doing that, but I felt like in that press conference, he was just neglecting blame to everybody. Matt Strahm not doing PFPs, which I think was valid. Bryce Harper not playing well. It's just Dave Dombrowski doesn't have any accountability. I think Bryce Harper does have accountability, and I think he's going to take this entire offseason and use it in a positive light. So that is why I believe Bryce Harper is the greatest Philadelphia Philly of all time. You guys let me know your opinion, your thoughts, drop them in the comments below. But that'll do it for this episode of Baseball for Maniacs. You guys have a good one.